Hi there, welcome back Greeks and welcome to CPU.
Good evening, Greeks. Welcome again to another lesson in Greek 101. Last time we have learned about the subjunctive mood, and today we will discuss another potential action, which is the imperative mood. So let's have this lesson, the imperative mood, module 24. Knowledge and objectives, introduced to some Greek vocabulary, memorize the formation of the imperative mood, and identify the function of the imperative mood and the second plural endings. Let's proceed to our vocabulary. Apangelo, apangelo. I tell, proclaim. Archi, archi. Or infinitive archis. Until a preposition. Doid, doid. It is a masculine noun, which means David. It is indeclinable. Eke. There, in that place to that place. Adverb. Evangelizo. Evangelizo. I preach the good news. A day. A day. Now already. Adverb. Ido. Ido. Look, behold. Here or there is. Imperative of Adon. Koinonia. Koinonia. Fellowship. Hupos. Hupos. How, that, in order that. It is an adverb and conjunction. Os. Os. Or autos. Year. Sparrow. Sparrow. I saw. Sperma. Sperma. The genitive spermatos. Seed or offspring. Psyche. Psyche. Self, inner life, or human being. It is also translated as soul. Psyche. Let's proceed to the formation of the imperative mood. The imperative mood in Greek is found in the present and aorist tenses. In most instances, you will form the mood by adding the second and third person imperative endings to the present or aorist stem. Notice that the second plural imperative of all forms is identical to the second plural indicative forms. From the second plural form, you can determine the third singular and third plural except any. To change the final epsilon to omega in a third singular and usan in a third plural. Sometimes variant endings for the third plural occurs as seen in the chart in the book. Let's proceed to the forms of the imperative mood. As you have learned last time, the imperative mood is a potential action which pertains to a command or a request. So in that case, we do not have a first person because the first person is the one giving the command and the second and third person is the one who receives the command. So the present active imperative of luo, second person is lue. Third person, lueto. In the plural, second person is luete. In the third person, luetosan. So let's read the present active imperative of luo begin. Lue, lueto, luete, luetosan. Very good. Let's proceed to the present, the middle and passive imperative of luo. As we learned in the last lesson, that the middle and passive are usually identical in form, but the meaning differs depending upon the context. The second person singular is luo. Third person, luesto. Plural, second person, lueste. And the third person, luestosan. Let's read all together. Begin. Luo, luesto, lueste, luestosan. Very good. Let's proceed to the first aorist active imperative of luo. The second person singularity is luson. Third person lusato. Plural second person is lusate. Third person lusatosan. Let's read. The first aorist active imperative of luo began. Luson, lusato, lusate, lusatosan. Very good. Let's proceed to the first aorist middle imperative begin. And the second person is singular is lusai. Third person lusasto. The plural second person lusaste. And third person lusastosan. Remember, when you translate this to English, it means might hurt yourself or herself. So let's read all together. Lusai, lusasto, lusaste, lusastosan. Very good. Let's proceed to the first aorist passive imperative of luo. This time, when you translate this, being. Second, the key term is being. Second person is singular, lutati. Third person, lutato. Plural, second person, lutate. And third person, lutatosan. Let's read. First aorist passive imperative of luo begin. Lutati, lutato, lutate, lutatosan. Very good. Let's proceed to the second aorist active imperative. We have an example here is the word lepo. And of course, lepo in the aorist is elipon. That's why we have the stem which is lip. And this stem in the aorist, we do not, in the imperative, we do not add the augment also. That's why the stem remains lip plus the endings. In the second person, singular is lipe. Third person, lipeto. Second person plural, lipete. And third person plural, lipetosan. Let's read. Begin. Lipe, lipeto, lipete, lipetosan. Very good. Let's proceed to the second aorist middle imperative of lepo. And the second person is singular, lipo. Third person, lipesto. Plural, second person, lipeste. And third person, lepestosan. Let's read. Begin. Lipo, lipesto, lipeste, lepestosan. Very good. And finally, the second aorist passive imperative of lepo. The second person singular is lipeti. Third person, lipeto. Plural, second person, lipete. And third person, plural, lipetosan. Let's read all together. Begin. Lipeti, lipeto, lipete, lipetosan. Very good. Let's proceed to the imperative mood of the present imperative mood of Amy. Second person is singular esti. Third person esto. Plural este. And third estosan. Let's read. Begin. Esti, esto, este, estosan. Very good. This time, let's proceed to the functions of the imperative mood. In Greek, as in English, the imperative mood expresses a command. One person is attempting to exert a will upon another. In English, only the second person is used, as is implied as is you, as in the sentence, you go away. Greek has forms for the second and third persons. No forms for the first person occur, since the hortatory subjunctive expresses this idea. Translate the second person into the usual English command with you implied. In the third person, you normally use the word let to express the idea, as in lo esto. It means let him be loosed. So again, the second person, it is a command which implies you. you lose. And in the third person, the word is used let. Let him be loosed. As in the subjunctive, the distinction between the present and aorist tenses is kind of action and not time. For this reason, the aorist has no augment. The present imperative denotes action in progress. Example, lue auton, continue losing him. The aorist imperative conveys action which has not yet started. Example, luson auton, lose him. The main uses of imperatives are, firstly, the imperative is the usual way to express a command. Example, geneste de poietai logo. It means be doers of the word. So James 1:22 is a command for us Christians to do God's word. Second, the imperative could also mean prohibition. Example, me geneste doloi anthropon. So this sentence is also a prohibition. It means do not become slaves of man. Therefore, 1 Corinthians 7:23 prohibits us from being slaves of man. Sometimes the imperative is softened to entreaty, especially when speaking to a superior or to God. Example, pater hagie te raison autos ento onomatizo. It means, Holy Father, preserve them in your name. So in John 17:11, it is an entreaty or a request to God to preserve these people in your name. Also, an imperative could be the idea of granting a permission. So example, orgidseste kai me amartanete. It means you may be angry but do not sin. In Ephesians 4:26, it gives us the permission that we could be angry too, but not sin. We can be angry, but at the point of cursing or demeaning others, like what Jesus did when he got angry when he saw the people selling things in the temple. In some cases, the imperative expresses also a condition and functions as a conditional sentence. Example, losate ton naon tauton kai en trisin hemirais egero auton. Again, losate ton naon tauton kai en trisin hemirais egero auton. It means, if you destroy this temple in 3 days, I will raise it. In John 2:19, Jesus gives a condition that the people will destroy the temple. In 3 days, Jesus will be able to raise it up. Actually, this temple Jesus is referring to is not the building, but rather his body, that when he dies, on the 3rd day, he will rise again. And he did fulfill that promise. Let's proceed to the last, which is the second plural endings. Since the second plural indicative and the subjunctive have the same endings, we must take care in translating. The context of the sentence will indicate which mood is intended. The aorist indicative will have an augment to distinguish it from the imperative. Notice the difference in the two sentences. So let's take a look at the first sentence. Let's read again. O bipete tauta panta. The first sentence is an indicative form. So it means you see all things, all these things, don't you? In Matthew 24, verse 2. So this is an example of an indicative form. So we can see here, blepete is you see all things. Second example, let's take a look in Matthew 24, verse 4. Blepete metes humas plan nese. Again, blepete metes humas planese. So this time, the word blepete is an imperative function, which means watch out that no one deceives you. So it could be, the sentence could be similar in its form, but its use can be different depending upon the context. So the first sentence again is an indicative form. It is actually a question. And the second one is in the imperative, it is a command for us to watch out for deceivers. So that's the difference between the second plural endings. So that's it for today. And I hope that you learned a lot in our lesson regarding the imperative mood. So kindly answer the assignment in the imperative in various moods. That's all for today. Thank you and God bless. See you in the next lesson